Welcome everyone to the Exploring Learning Technologies community meeting for April. This month we have Mike Hofherr joining us, who's going to talk about a bunch of good stuff. So I will just let him kind of run the show for the first part of the session, and I think we'll just open it up to Q&A and keep it
low-key. I'm going to be pretty quick,
Okay.
and I just wanted to go through. Is it just up or down? Is it?
Yeah, or you can do page down.
Yeah. All right. So just go through some things really quick and let you know some of our key initiatives and what we're working on and what's sort of on the forefront for us, and then we could really have Q&A because I've just really wanted to come and talk to you all. I haven't been here in a while or got to see most of you in a while. So you guys are pretty familiar with who we are. So just a couple minor changes to the organizational structure. About a year ago, we moved administrative systems out from under Diane Daggerford and made Dave Kiefer the vice president there. That really has to do with the Workday conversion. That's too much on top of what Diane was doing. So it makes a lot of sense there. And then you know the rest is pretty much the same. You know who our sort of advisory groups are. I know a lot of you are on some of these things. Just a quick recap. IT Partnership Council is the IT leads from each sort of college or unit. We get together like 3 separate groups. We get together with like the big IT leaders, so engineering, FAES, arts and sciences, and a couple others. And then we get together as the whole group once in a while. And then we get together as the small colleges as well. So it's a mix. It just depends on what month it is. Rob has a separate committee for distance education. CODILIT, as the Council on Distance Education, Libraries, and Information Technology, is our official university. I know, took you to figure it out there. Yeah, the O in on counts. That's our official University Senate subcommittee that we have to report up through. So whenever we create like a distance education steering committee or a steering committee for one of our new products or something that we're launching, so there's usually someone from that committee from CODILIT on that. There's the IT Infrastructure Advisory Committee that's headed by Tim Smith out of Arts and Sciences, and that's really about collective buy, right? So we buy in the same back-end stuff, and can we do that cheaper and better together? And then we have about 50 students in a student tech forum. This was a student organization, then it wasn't, then it is, and then it's not, and the nature of working with students. But if you ever want to bring anything into a large, diverse group of students or ask them some questions, just let us know because they're there. We usually lure them in with like Adriaticos or Chinese food or something like that. So we've really talked about how we're trying to change culture at OCIO for the last, and ODEE for the last few years. And these are the principles sort of that we stand behind. Be focused, be accessible, be engaged, be an example. Hi, how are you? Good. Good. And I hope you're seeing that out in the community. And if you're not, you need to let me know or let one of my peers know, or let one of your peers know. Because it's really been our focus, right? So our focus isn't to do IT for IT. Our focus is to do IT to advance the mission of the university. And you all play a big part of that out in the units and out in the colleges. So that's sort of what we're looking at. So I'm just going to go through these quick, and then we're going to have a conversation, because I can talk about anything that's not on here. So we have some big initiatives, right? And these are, we do tons of other stuff, but we have big things that we have to report on. And if it's on this list, I usually have to report to the Board of Trustees on it. So that's how it sort of gets that big, right? So as you know, we've been moving forward with our distance education portfolio. I know a lot of you are part of that team that's been working with Rob to grow this, so appreciate the support and help. We are ranked #1 for our bachelor's programs in the country around distance education, which was a huge step forward for us. Considering 5 years ago we didn't have any, right? And so to be from 0 programs to the #1 ranked school in the country is a huge feat that I know a lot of you have been part of. We now have 25 online programs. We're have about 3,000 students in that. So if you think about that now, our online sort of portfolio is almost the size of our complete regional portfolio as well. This is a huge step forward, right? If you look at where we want to be down the road, what we're not going to, so we're getting to the end of that 5th year. We had a 5-year plan. So the next fiscal year will be the last year of that plan. We've already met the 5-year goals, right? So we're going to have to start to rethink about what we are. And so when we started distance education, we just wanted people to do stuff, right? So bring us your program, we'll look at the market, and we'll build it, right? So do we have the 25 programs that would play best in the market? Probably not, right? We have 25 programs that people wanted to put online. And that's okay, because they're all functioning, and they all have students enrolled, and they're all doing a great job, right? But what we'll probably do over the next 5 years, and we're starting to flesh this out, is Rob's going to go around and sit down with each one of the deans, include some of you in those conversations that have responsibility for this in your portfolios, to sort of say, we've worked with Wiley's online, we've worked with EduVentures online, and we've worked with EAB online, and we sort of have this picture that says, if your business, these are the 5 established programs and you don't have any of these. These are the 5 emerging programs, and maybe you have one. And these are the 5 that you should stay away from because the market's saturated. And what do you want to do? So we're not anything outside of the, and I'm making things up here. It could be 6, it could be 3, it could be 10, right? This is your sheet. Me too. We're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. But this is your sheet, right? And let's start to work in this parameter, because these are the ones that are really going to be beneficial and impactful going forward. So a little bit different approach. We are officially approved in all states. You could offer distance education wherever you want now, which is a big deal because we weren't before. Continued growth here. So the big thing that this group's working on right now, and I know some of you are involved in that, is they're partnering with the University Institute for Teaching and Learning, headed by Kay Halasek, to develop a foundations course for all faculty to take to improve teaching. And it's going to be phenomenal. We actually get some money from the president to do it. It's going to be a really good example of what we could do online. Sam Craighead and Alan Kalish are heading that sort of initiative. Enterprise project, Workday, switch from PeopleSoft to Workday. Look, this is the work of the work, right? We run a $7 billion business here at Ohio State. You need some way to manage and run that. And this is shared between the hospital and the university. Well, we made an announcement coming out of the last board week that we're going to push the go live date by a year. So we'll go live in the summer of 2020 with finance and HR, and student in 2021. I know that seems like really far away, but the teams don't think that's very far away. There are close to 250 people working on this project, just on the project team. We're talking about complete transformation of some of our business processes and modernization of the systems. So the best thing that I like, because I have to travel a lot in my role, right, is some of the new travel stuff. You know, think about modern sort of app-based things on your phone, right? You want to book a flight? Well, you click on the airplane picture, right? You're out for dinner at a conference or something. You take a picture of the receipt. It gets immediately submitted. Like, that sounds like modern, right? You've seen other folks do this when you're out. So, and we're eliminating duplicative systems and processes. So we've identified about 535 systems that right now touch PeopleSoft. So those are the things that go in. We've got a plan for either sunsetting, updating, or it stays the same, right? But the code has to change to talk with Workday. For every one of those 540 systems, we will have a plan. So we've been through 250-ish, and in that process, we're eliminating 100 systems already. So just think about that, right? So it's 100 less things we have to support, because all of that's either contained in Workday or it isn't needed now that we're going to one centralized system. Lots more to come over the years. Mike Anderson, you guys know Mike Anderson from OCIO. He's the new project lead, and Natalie Sisto-Means, who is a consultant from Accenture, is helping us here. She's a business process sort of person. You're all aware of the university strategic plan. There aren't actually goals for this right now. That's what's being worked on this year. So Tim Smith and Joe Roush have been working with Diane Daggerford to set up what we're calling IT challenges. The first of that IT challenge was to get out of local data centers or local server rooms, move to the SOC or move to virtualized equipment that we could provide to you. So that's going on this year. And they're going to have a whole bunch of more challenges and how we're going to score those things going out, right? And then how we then provide funding to move those on. So more to come on what those challenges will be at the flip of the fiscal year, so over the summer. 3 in green in 2018 sounds way better than don't click on shit, which is Helen's motto, or security, right? This is the security framework that I know everyone loves to complete every year. Yes? No. I know it's a pain in the ass. Like, I know it is. Like, you don't have to tell me. I know it's a pain in the ass. But we have to do it. Right? Security is a really big issue these days. I meet with the FBI monthly, see on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. There have been cases where, we attacks out of state, not just for IP, but for, we have really big pipes, right? And if they could, that would be not only, especially, have to get then, factor, expect to see growth or phrase only, I think, is behind us. We're just going to have to get a little smarter and a little better. Last couple years with keyloggers. Everybody know what a keylogger is, right? So we first batch of keyloggers were a thumb drive about the size of my thumbnail, not my thumb, right? Tiny, right in the back of the computer in the USB port. Students were then collecting information that was entered into that computer, and some of that was faculty passwords, and then they were changing grades. Then we saw people not changing grades, but stealing answer sheets out of box, so they didn't have to change grades, they just had the answer sheet. The newest one was they quit going from the thumb drive, because we've done, you guys noticed in the general purpose classroom, we've been sort of better securing those podiums, like they were secure, but I don't know, there must be some kid with Mr. Elastic arms or something that could get it down in this big on the podium. Yeah, so, that's always an issue, right? Yeah. No, so we know, and we're never going to stop. Like, listen, that's a game you're never going. I know that's a game we're never going to win. Like, listen, what's that lock on the podium? Like, you chink with a crowbar and the thing's open. We're never going to win that game. We just got to get smart on how we do it. So we're looking at, some alert stuff that we could start to see in those machines as general purpose classrooms that then we could sort of share out. But last year was drive, and they went to embedded keyloggers in keyboards. They've listen, we don't buy any like special keyboards, right? They're just, whatever keyboard you get, you look at the model, you go to, wherever you go, Target, Best Buy, and you buy that keyboard. Took it apart, put the keylogger in it, put it back together, took our keyboard out and hooked theirs up. We were able to find 2 of them with an infrared camera, so off a really distinct heat mapping. And so we now have infrared cameras in the security team and in the classroom management team. So if you have classrooms that you manage and would want to borrow those to check keyboards or something like that, let Stephanie Orr, who's managing that classroom team, know, and we'll help you with that. We've been helping arts and sciences, a couple others do that. So security is what it is. We could have a lot of conversations when the camera's off about what's really going on. Access and affordability, really focused on affordable learning exchange, which I know you've heard about. Mike Shiflett and Ashley Miller are here, right? Ashley's on her phone. She doesn't even know I'm talking about her.
I'm texting with leave.
Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. But you know the great work they're doing in terms of savings to students around free and open textbooks. We've already reached about $3 million of savings for students. We're in our second cohort. Those 14 projects were $500,000. So this just continues to grow. And this compounds every year. 3 turns to 6 really easy when you do that 2 years in a row, right? Or 3 years in a row. And 500 turns to $1 million when you do that 2-3 years in a row, 2 years in a row. So another cohort, Ash, when does that come online?
We're in our third, and we're about to recruit our fourth.
Yeah.
Starting around Innovate.
Yeah.
And quick thing, because
Yeah.
I've been meaning to email you about this. We have a couple faculty that have been inspired by the ALX project, who've gotten rid of textbooks in their course.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because you direct work, but it'd be great if we had a way to capture that.
I agree. So I think I would love to work with you on what the plan might look like, because part of the whole point of this initiative
Yeah.
is to bring people out of the woodwork who are already doing
Yeah.
this. So yes, a way to identify them and work with everybody here to identify them and sort of centralize that story, I think would be really helpful.
And I think we're going to have to anyway.
Yeah.
So we have to report to the state. This is we have to report a whole bunch of stuff to the state. One of the things that they want to see is textbook savings at universities. So we've given them sort of a national number, like an average that says this is the average textbook's cost. We've worked with the IEC, so everyone's using that same number sort of across the board. Then it's an easy iPads student count times a number, right? And so, it's not just this that's saving us dollars. It's examples like that, Byron, that we're going to have to start to. Hey, look at ALX was 10 million over 10 years, but there's a whole nother 15 million over here that everyone did through things like that. So more to come on that, I think, too. Analytics services. This is all about data and how we manage data across campus. I think one of the things we got to be really sensitive about is who has access to that data. Are students aware of what we're doing with that data? Are they signing off on if they're allowing us to use that data? And a lot of the work with the Digital Flagship Project is going to start to develop some policies around that as well. But here's the big change. Right now, we have data like here and here and here and here and back there, and everybody says, that's my data. You have to call me and ask me for it, and maybe I'll give it to you. Okay? And then once you get that data, you create some version of the truth, right? And that's okay. I'm not saying anyone's being manipulative or mysterious. It's just the version of the truth that you create with the data, right? And so then we go into a meeting, and it's like, well, here's a number, and here's a number, and here's a number, and they're all just a little different, right? And then none of them are really right, right? So if you think about that environment, what we're really trying to move towards is a centralized data array, right? Where all the data lives here, and no one owns any of the data, right? And you have access to the data for what you need to do your job, right? And so then when you walk into the provost's office and you bring this spreadsheet that's got 62 tabs and 40 through formulas, and you've come up with this number, he's going to be like, no, that's not really what I want to see. I only want to see the thing that has the stamp on the bottom that says it came out of the data array, right? It's going to take us a while to get to, right? That's part of the work through the Workday project. That's part of the work through Unison and the UDP stuff that they're doing, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. That's part of the work of getting student life data and library data and college data that you all are correctly placed, all into one spot. Doesn't mean you don't have access, doesn't mean you don't have control. It just means it's there for everybody to access. And then that means we have to make people really smart about what they do with that data. So I think the biggest shift that we'll make in the next in terms of central IT and T team and staff, and I've said this and the people know this, so it's no secrets. You guys know me, I don't work like that. Less infrastructure, more data analytics, right? And so we're getting out of the infrastructure game, more cloud services, outsourcing, the commodity sort of pieces, right? And then more folks that can work with people on how to interpret and analyze data. Because that's really where we're going, right? And then digital flagship, I know, I think Leave was here, someone was here to talk to you guys about flagship, right? Tara was? Awesome. So I don't want to go too much into this. We presented to University Senate last night. Pilot's going well. We have one learning experience that we're right in the middle of now, which is we have 44 iPad-only sections. We have 10,000 plus sections and a total at Ohio State. So 44 were iPad only. We made a decision, and Monday morning quarterback probably wasn't a great decision, just going to say that, right? To allow those courses to be open, right, to anyone who had an iPad, because we weren't just going to limit them to the freshman class that had iPads right now. That was marked in an attribute that these were iPad-only courses, but that attribute wasn't easily discovered in course software. And just copied everything over, you may have chosen iPad-only course without knowing it. So that was one issue, and that affected about 430, 50 students. We're still working out what the number is, and we're working with those. And then the second issue was that anatomy, 2300, which is a huge course that a lot of folks take, they inadvertently labeled all of their courses iPad only. So what we were trying to do was communicate with students and be open and honest about where we were right now. So there was a scheduled note to go out, what day were we on, Friday? A scheduled note to go out on Tuesday that was like, hey kids, remember some of these courses are iPad only. If you want to be in this class, you need to have an iPad. And the proverbial shit hit the fan, right? Because the Twitterverse stopped. Thank you. It happens, right? And the biggest thing we're dealing with is students thought we were asking them to buy an iPad, right? And that was never the intent. Student leadership, I talked to the president. Our intent was never to have students buy an iPad. Inclusive, and say, if you have an iPad and want to come to this course, you're more than welcome, but you need it because it's really designed for this cohort and the cohorts going forward students. So lesson learned, next year we probably won't open them up to everyone. So everyone here has an iPad. But this team's head down on the deployment. So deployments start May 30th, May 31st, April 1st, something like that, right at the end of the term when orientation starts. And they will give 250 iPads a day, Monday through Thursday, every week until classes start in August. On this campus, every Monday, Thursday. On Newark, every Monday through Thursday. On Newark, every Tuesday and Thursday. And then the other regional campuses right at the start of the semester. I don't know what the outcomes of this are going to be. I think it's going to be pretty cool. The stuff with pilots are cool. I'm sure Tara should remember that. I go back to one of the first projects we ever did with Dean Gregoire in College of Social Work. And there's a 30 video out there somewhere. It's probably the first digital first video we ever did. And he says, I don't know what the outcomes are. I don't know what the outcomes will be. I think it's my job to put tools in people's hands to help them create those outcomes. Something like that. I think he said it much more eloquently than I just did. And I think it's our job to do that, right? And this will be the largest distribution one-to-one technology program in the country at an R1 institution. And there's going to be some really cool things that come out of that I can't even imagine. A couple cool things too is we're thinking about a mobile lab. I want to call it iPad-a-Bago. I don't think Apple let me do that, but maybe Code-a-Bago or something like that. So bus that could be anywhere on campus, anywhere at the regionals, anywhere out with our community partners, and then a permanent touchdown space in a couple of years once the 15th and High gets done. So that's it. Those are the big things. I think hopefully I went quick enough. I've talked enough. Questions, thoughts? Yes. And I used to be a regular attendee of this meeting, and I know you're not a quiet bunch. So if you don't, yeah, is that all right? Yeah.